I got to tell the story really quick. So the Liquid Death, Mike.
Yes.
Right? Yep. And that's the ramp that he went into, right? Yep. So Mike called me and he said, he called me a while ago when he ended up on Point Doom and he was like, hey, I got a motorcycle. I know you have a motorcycle. I said, well, come ride with me and my buddies. We took him for a ride and it was fine and all that. Pretty quiet guy.
Yep.
And I was like, look, Liquid Death, like, I don't know what how the onset of Liquid Death and how it happened. He kind of explained it to me. It was a marketing gag and then it turned into this amazing thing. And I think it's this amazing thing. And he said, we're thinking about doing another round of investment. And I said, I think I want to invest. And we start kind of hanging out and talking a little bit. And then, which plays into our thing, he called me at one point or he texted me and he goes, hey, I got this idea. What do you think? And I think his ideas are pretty good. Like what he just did with Travis Barker is insane. Yeah. And the fact that it works so well. So he's obviously got his fingerprint on something that's working. And he's like, look, what if I get a camera crew to come over to your house and then you put on the same wardrobe that you had on in Thrashing, but and I had a big gray goatee at the time. And he was like, and you're an old guy skating, but you keep falling because you're trying to be like you were, but you're not anymore because you're like old. And I was like, what the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
I was like,
it's a little personal.
I literally was like, and I was texting and I was like, what the fuck? And my thumbs were like angry. And I was like, I'll fucking break you, bitch.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got really shitty. And now we see each other and it's all good. Anyway, we didn't do the investment or anything, and I still drink tons of Liquid Death, and I see him, I'm like, hey, how you doing? But it was...
Wait, you didn't do the investment based on that interaction?
Because of it got a little tense. And I was like, I'm out. And he said, I'm out.
Wow.
And whoever said, we're out.
Beef.
It's good to know that some of his ideas are terrible.
Brolin's got beef.
But it's not necessarily terrible because the guy has brilliant ideas.
Yeah.
They're unconventional. I just don't want to be that dude.
Yeah.
You don't want to be Corey Webster.
I don't want... No, dude.
Thanks for making the time.
Of course, man.
Seriously.
I like your space here. It's raw.
I am a huge fan. I really am a huge fan of your work. And I know even though we had some connections in the beginning with a certain skateboard movie, Thrashing.
Who would have known both you guys would have become who you are today? That movie.
So fucking massive.
Right?
When we started so small.
Right.
No, but it's funny because Thrashing, I've always said, like they just had like a screening the other day and they hit me up at the last minute and they said, do you want to come? And I've spoken so much shit about Thrashing because it was like a great milestone moment for me because I did the Goonies, which was super lucky. It was this amazing experience. Spielberg, Dick Donner, all these amazing people. It did really well. And then because I think the only reason I got Thrashing is because the poster was up on Sunset Boulevard and I went and auditioned for Thrashing and I think I mispronounced spatula. I said spatula during the reading because I'm such a fucking idiot. And then the poster was there and they were like, we got to use that guy because like, look, we're doing this tiny movie. It's about skateboarding. It's kind of this whatever. So I end up doing the movie. I saw the movie. I went to the premiere and I was like, your acting is so bad, you're hurting people.
You thought that?
But
yeah, dude.
Did you think that in the Goonies?
No. I didn't think I was brilliant. I thought I serviced the role.
Right. But you
that,
were like...
I thought, and that was a great director, and he's cutting, and he's using the right moments and all that kind of stuff. Like, they understand. That's what, when you work with better directors, it's not just about the performance. It's how they're cutting, what kind of music they're using, who the editor is, all that kind of shit. And I watched Thrashing, which was obviously, it was, you saw the cost.
Yeah.
It was a tiny movie.
Yeah. Yes.
And then you see me like, no, Chrissy, come back, and you're just like, oh, fuck, dude.
But do you think, okay, but hold on. On the flip side of that, do you think that if your acting had been better, or if there was a De Niro in the role, would that have saved the movie?
No.
So you're suggesting that the movie's bad?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying.
I can't. I wasn't in it. It's terrible.
It's really bad.
See, that's the
it's
thing.
so terrible that it's awesome.
It's so terrible that it's awesome.
It's so terrible. It's awesome. Then you get to a point, which I think you and I we've gotten to, that you look back and you're like, okay, when people come up and they say, hey, man, you saved my life. And you're like, how? And they go, when I watched Thrashing, everything changed for me. I come from this childhood, everything changed. I got into skateboarding because of Thrashing. And you go, okay, so it's actually irresponsible of me to when people come up and they go, hey, I love Thrashing. And you go, Thrashing sucked.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you don't make it personal like that. And you go, oh, good, man. I'm glad you liked it. Thanks a lot. And then you kind of resort to that one.
Pretty hard not to laugh in his face, though.
I went through that transition or whatever. I went through that cycle with Gleaming the Cube.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was like, dude, it's not. It's so
Gleaming the
weird.
Cube.
It's not. Well, skateboarding doesn't really fit in it, but
Totally.
But then people are just like, that was my favorite movie of all time.
There you
and
go.
It spoke to me, and
I've heard that about
well,
Thrashing.
yeah, because
I definitely wanted to be in the Daggers.
Well, yeah. You didn't want to be a guy from the Valley.
No, it made more sense.
I didn't want to be a guy from the Valley, and I was playing a guy from the Valley.
Right.
the coolest thing about Thrashing
some great
to me when it happened was that Del Mar Skate Ranch, my local spot, was closed.
Was closed,
It
and
was
they
closed.
opened it up for that
And they
thing.
opened it up for Thrashing because Thrashing had their own insurance.
That was super cool.
So we got to skate Del Mar for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then back off again forever.
And it closed forever.
And it closed forever after.
That was like the
But it
last
was
time
that was
we got to
you.
skate.
That
What's
was
that?
you.
But it was still there rideable.
It was
Yeah,
still there
dude.
rideable. We
Totally
would
rideable.
get kicked out because it was, there's all the stuff connected
That one
to it.
main bowl, I remember that
Yeah.
one main bowl. You were riding it. Christian was riding it. Who
Yeah.
else was there?
Dude, it was like our own
was the whole
party. It was
crew.
amazing.
Yeah, it
and
was
then
cool.
they changed my name in there for some reason. I don't know
What
why.
was it?
Like my character. They're
Yeah,
like,
what was
all
your
right,
character? What was
I
his
think it was
name?
like Tony Hanks.
This is the quick version. My mom's from Corpus Christi, Texas. She's not around anymore. She had an animal obsession from super early on. So she'd get a dog and she'd hide it in the garage, that kind of thing. So she had like an animal
Mom was
thing.
like
She
that.
didn't deal with
Are
people
you an
so
animal
well.
person?
Hugely.
Right.
Hugely. But we don't have any animals right now, which is a problem for us
Yeah.
because we travel so much.
Oh, of course.
So we've been talking about, like, my kids want an animal, and my wife's like, should we this? But we're traveling. Do we bring it with us? Do we get a big dog? Do we get a small dog? Whatever. But I grew up with many, many, many wolves. We were in Paso Robles, California, Central Coast. We had 230 acres, so 65 horses, a lot of wolves, a lot of mountain lions. Once in a while, a bear would be there. Once in a while, a lion would be there. And my mom was one of these like Grizzly Adam types that would like walk in the cage of any animal, any disposition.
Yeah.
And they would cower. They would,
No way. Like
Yeah,
you
it
just
was-
had a gift.
whether it's a gift or whether it's insanity and they picked up on it, it was
It's a
either
gift.
way. It is a gift.
Yeah.
There's a thing that, I mean, look, man, I love my mother so much. In the book that I'm writing, because I know you and the book that I'm writing, which was unintentional because it's like kind of like an unconventional memoir, and it's turned out to be unconventional because it's really mother heavy. And I'm like, wow, man, there's like the stories about my dad. It's kind of one here, one there, and then there's 60 about my mother or 70 about my mother. Big personality.
Yeah.
Very difficult to get along with. It was a love-hate thing with everybody, and I have everybody's story, but there was this thing with animals where she just connected, man.
Yeah.
It was the Grizzly Adams kind of thing. She just connected with those animals, and that was always the case until the end. So yeah, it was cool. She was cool. Tough to grow up with, but cool.
So did you have tigers in your backyard?
Oh yeah, man. No. You don't even know. Like,
I want to.
I would wake up to bobcats biting my cheek, and there would be blood, and and I'd
I'm
go
sorry,
in
but that's
and
so cool.
whatever.
It is cool. Dude, I would kill. I've always wanted to be attacked by a
You
shark.
thought-
You
I
told
was
him the
gonna- you
wrong
think-
guy.
What?
think
Attacked by what?
A shark.
A shark.
That's
Attacked
like
by
the
a
coolest
shark.
tag I
You're
could
the only
get.
one going.
You think being near dingoes was cool. He's getting bit by bobcats.
So sick. So you
No, I would grow up like that, and then we'd go in. My brother had it too, but my brother dealt with it differently. My brother, I think, was more sensitive to it, whereas I kind of went to war, and I would go in to my mother's room, and I'd be like, look, and she'd go, yeah, that's a love bite.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, that's a problem. Like, there's blood.
Yeah.
And she'd go, yeah, that's a love bite.
Yep.
So that was just part of the deal. And when we were 7 or 8, my brother got 60 stitches in his leg because we had to feed the wolves. We had to clean the wolves' cages and all that kind of stuff. So
What
he
was
got-
her reaction to 60 stitches? Is she
Not a big
when you're
reaction.
bleeding? Is it not a panic?
Not a big reaction.
How does
my
that
dad's
affect-
reaction was major.
Oh, he was freaking out.
Yeah, he was. And look, to be fair, as an emotional reaction, he was like, I'm going to shoot the wolf.
Oh, yeah,
And my
okay.
mom said, if you shoot the wolf, I'm going to shoot you.
Right.
So the wolf didn't get shot.
I like her.
I'm sure.
I know. One time,
there's a lot of similarities here that I picked up on right when I walked in the room, and they're not necessarily healthy.
No. No, I'm sorry for both of us.
Which side were you on with the shooting?
What?
Which side were you on with the shooting?
I was 10. My brother was 6. And there was a guy working on the ranch that had just gotten out of prison, right? So he was an ex-con. And I remember he had big thyroidal eyes. But he would kind of keep him a half-mast because he knew it kind of freaked people out. But then when he saw the wolf, and I remember seeing, because we were putting in plants outside of this garden, and the wolf had gotten out into the garden, and my brother was walking along the garden fence, and the wolf came up and grabbed his leg and pulled him down. And I remember those eyes going, you know what I mean? Massive, big balls, you know, and he was like, and he's the one who went in there and kicked the wolf away and grabbed my brother. My brother wouldn't have made it for sure. Had we not been there. So to answer your question, I think I was just more in shock than anything. You see a bunch of holes and
kind of fair.
Brother's leg.
Were you hesitant to get into acting based on your father's success?
Yeah. Oh yeah, in a major way. Had no interest.
No interest.
Zero. Like when I got into it, my friends were like, "What? You know, like why would you do that?"
How did Goonies come about?
It was all an accident. I got kicked out of my house in Santa Barbara by my mom. I went to live in my dad's apartment. He was living in an apartment at that time down in LA, and I slept on his couch. And I wanted to get my shit together because I was doing some pretty, you know, I'd been to jail a couple of times already. And then I was like, and I started doing karate, taekwondo, and I was like trying to be healthy. And I was like, what could I do? And I made up a resume, all like 100% lies. And I went from agent to agent and saying, you know, they were like, you know, so you did a version of Streetcar on Stage at the Librero International Theater, which doesn't exist. And you're like, yeah. And
did your dad help you with all these lies?
No.
That's all you?
At all.
But did he recognize your name?
I recognized the name, which was also like, either people let me in the door because of the name or they challenged me. Like, I remember there was one lady that said, yeah, like, aren't you Brolin's kid? And I go, yeah. And they go, and you want to be an actor, huh? And I go, yeah. And they go, so act. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, I got a couple monologues. I got prepared, or you want me to do that? And she said, thanks for coming in. That's what I thought. And she turned around. So I would get that.
Wow.
So there was that. And I think that's more old school. It's like, do you really deserve to be here? I'm not going to give you the chance, the nepotistic chance, because you're Brolin's kid and that kind of thing. But I don't think that was a bad thing. I don't think, like, Goonies was a really good thing, but it was unrealistic. Goonies was so amazing that afterwards, I thought Goonies just kept happening.
Yeah. Right.
Then you do Thrashing, then you do Highway to Heaven, then you get a career out of it. So I think it happened in the way that it should have, where I went to New York and I started doing theater.
Yeah, that's what you told me
like,
when we saw each other at Tarzan. You said, yeah, that was my cue to leave Hollywood and go to theater.
That's exactly. So thank God it happened, because it got me motivated. And I was like, look, I'm not going to, if I'm going to do this, I want to be good at it. And why am I doing this? Because behaviorally, it's super fucking interesting. Like, what makes people tick? You know, why do I like French Connection? Why do I like Dog Day Afternoon? What is it about those movies? Yeah, they're cool and they're badass and they're you know, guy robbing a bank or a guy running from a thing or a, you know, corrupt cop and all that. But what is it behaviorally that I like? And what I found out at that point is exactly still what exists now, because I always want to get out of the business. Like, I go, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I just get, you know, and then I go, okay, I got to take a couple of days. Maybe I'll go watch behind the scenes of, like, you know, Raging Bull or something, or, you know, Taxi Driver. And I see people, editors talking about, like, oh my God, De Niro had this moment. We didn't even see it while we were filming, or Scorsese's talking about something. And then I get all jazzed up again. And I'm like, yeah, this is a good thing. This is just about celebrity and Instagram and, you know, how many people are following you and all that. And then you get back.
You do. I mean, you can tell. I can tell from your acting, especially in, like, No Country for Old Men, and you have such a reverence for the craft. But what I was wondering is, what was the spark, either in New York or later on, that it was like, all right, I can get back into the film, or what was the opportunity? I
did a series called Young Riders, which was cool. They offered me the lead, and I didn't want the lead because there was a supporting part that I thought was a better part. So I kind of got what and even though they go, you know, we're giving you more money, we're giving you like 4 times the amount of money. I said, I don't want it. I want that part. And then they ended up making that part kind of the lead, even though it was an ensemble.
Is that something that you usually do? Is that have you ever looked at it like that? Or was that your first time?
It sounds like a kind of like a look what I did kind of thing. I think when I look back on it, because it's been long enough, I think the whole Cito Rat thing and how I grew up kind of lent myself to that.
Yeah.
So there was a moment that I had where I got offered, I think, was it before that? It was before that. There was a series called Private Eye, and they were doing like a nationwide search for this guy to play this kind of Elvis character, big pompadour, leather jacket, 1950s, and they were looking everywhere for this dude. And I was nobody. So they go, and then I got this offer. I read for Frankie Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello's Back to the Beach. And it was like those 60s movies that were really popular, and it was them coming back to do a movie. And everybody goes, this is going to be huge. And I got offered like the dumb surfer guy, you know, like, oh, what's up, dude? You know, and then we were like, you're perfect. Why don't you do that? And my agent said, hey, you got this offer. That's great. You haven't had an offer for a year. You know, this is a good thing for you. And I was like, yeah, I kind of want that other role. I kind of want the nationwide search role. And they're like, yeah, that's never going to happen. And I was like, yeah, I don't really like this role. Like Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon's not really my thing.
Yeah.
It feels just a little too soft.
Yeah.
And then, so I went for the other role, and I turned down that role. And I got called by 5 agents. And I remember one agent said, you're an idiot. Like, I just want you, I want to be straight with you. You're an idiot.
Just called to tell you you're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
That's cool.
And that's it. So the agency almost dropped me, and I ended up getting that role somehow. And then that kind of started a trajectory into that.
So
like,
that was it? You decided to make like a move that could be like a career-ending move, or
the fact that I was saying no to anything at that point probably wasn't anybody's idea of smart.
What possessed you to... You just felt it. And then from there, because it sounds like once that happened, you were like, oh, we're on a roll right now. Was there nothing like that? No mind shift, just like, I'm lucky or anything like that? Just hey, and who knows what's next?
It's not like, of course I got it. I mean, I was really stoked to get it.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things like, this is what I want to be doing. That's where the focus is. And not, oh, if you focus on it, you can make it happen and visualize it and it will make it happen. It wasn't that. It was just like, this is not what I want to do, and I would rather not have a career, which kind of lent itself to later. Like, I just did a TV series called Out of Range, and there was a series that I did called Mr. Sterling, and I hated it so much that I said I would rather not have a career than do TV again. And I didn't do TV for 20 years. And then that's when No Country happened. And had I continued doing TV, I didn't know that, but I was kind of thought my career was ending. And then when I stopped doing TV and I wasn't getting work, and then No Country kind of came out of nowhere about 1.5 years, I started trading stocks full time. That's how I was making money.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Trading what?
Stocks. I was trading full time for 4 years.
So 4 years, how long were you?
I sound like I'm full of shit.
Dude, I'm taking this as...
You know, he padded his resume, so we don't know what to believe.
I know. I lied from the beginning, bro.
We're not sure which John Bowen we're getting, but here we are.
Holidays are here, and that means one thing. So what about now with all the success? Do you think that it's... Because it doesn't seem like it's gone to your head, and I feel like if you already paid your dues for such a long time, and then this huge amount of success comes, some people, it can still go to your head. You just seem like...
But it depends on like what kind of success you're talking about. It's like it's success for No Country. Like for No Country, I got paid nothing.
Right.
I mean, nothing. I mean, very, 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 very little. You know. And then I did American Gangster. I got paid a little more, but I was broke. And then it turns out American Gangster did well, and I was freaking out because I was broke. And then I got called from my lawyer.
Did you get points on that?
But you were broke.
I didn't know. I didn't even know what points was.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like somebody in my position at that point, you don't go like, I want 5% of first dollar gross.
Yeah.
You know, and they
Yeah.
go, what?
Yeah.
How do you know that? And then I was totally broke, and I got called by my lawyer, and she said, did you see my email? And I looked at it, and I was like, thank God. And I thought it was $60,000, and it literally saved me. Even though that was going to be taxed and all that, I'd probably end up with 30 grand, 25 grand after commissions and all that. And it turned out it wasn't 60.
That was more. You were off of zero? Wow.
And I fucking started crying. It was just
For
like,
sure.
I was like, what the I don't even know what this is. I've never even seen money like this. I don't even know what this is.
I have that. I've actually
crazy.
had that exact, not exact,
Scenario?
but the scenario where they offered me $500,000 for my buyout, for a buyout of video game royalties right when the first game was getting released.
Yeah.
And when the guy said $500,000, I was like, that's like telling me $500 gazillion.
Totally. I don't even
What are you
know
talking
that
about?
is.
No one's ever
Totally.
spoken that much money.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
Yeah. Like when I did the Marvel thing, when I did Thanos, that was supposed to be a little cameo. Like that was never supposed to be those two movies. That was
So
a
when
little
you first-
cameo. So when I first did it, they dropped off. I was in London. I was doing Everest, and they dropped off this massive Bible. I said, I know nothing about cartoons. I just wasn't. I was surfing and I was doing drugs. So sorry.
Yeah.
And then they sent this thing, and I looked through it. I go, this is so cool. Like this guy was, and the idea of doing a major nemesis, purple or not, against all these dudes.
Yeah.
Like had
Yeah.
it been one of the guys,
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have been excited. But the fact that it was this guy against all those guys, I go, yeah, that's really cool. And why not?
But
And then
just
it turned into
as
this
far as
whole
you knew,
thing.
it was just a little role. What shifted the way you like? When did they decide to?
I think, I don't know for sure, but I know when we started to do it, I think they were really happy with it. You know, I think that was because of them too. It wasn't necessarily because of me, because I went in with this kind of like Richard Burton kind of Shakespearean thing, and they were like, yeah, that's not, what you're doing is not really working, which is fine. That happens. And they were like, you know, we see him more relaxed and kind of itching his nose. And I was like, oh, because when you think of mocap, you think, what am I supposed to do? Something dynamic.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we just want you to just be a dude.
Yeah.
And I started thinking of Brando and Apocalypse Now, and I was like, and then we started paralleling different, you know,
Wow.
ideas, and then I was like, I fucking love this, and I love doing that movie.
Yeah.
Those two movies.
But it progressively they put more of you in. Like, how does it work?
So
where they
then
add
I think
somebody?
they had ideas, and they were like, what if we book in this 10 years with this guy Thanos, and we'll bring everybody together and we'll do a thing? And I was like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'll do it. But then monetarily, it was successful. You know,
Right.
it made like $5-point-something billion altogether.
Yeah.
So we did okay. So I had bonuses on that, but they didn't come in for like $1 billion until it made $1 billion, but it did. So that
That was the marker on the contract. It had to reach $1 million.
$1 billion.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm like, that's
For
never
it to
going
unlock, like,
that's never
a
going to
bonus
happen
for him.
That's
That's
never
so
going to happen.
wild.
So yeah, not to get into all that stuff, but it was so it, you know, so when you have monetary success, it gets confusing because then you get used to that money, or you buy a house, or you do a nice thing, and you have people over and you have it catered, and then you're like, that can't be a one-off. So what if I do that again? Well, then, you know, you start to play into that, which I always struggle with, always. I did Letterman, I think 3 times, and the last time right before he finished, and I love him. I mean, I think he's like one of the greats.
Yep.
You know, and he introduced me as the first celebrity to get arrested this year. I had just gotten out of jail like maybe 6 days before that. And I didn't hear it.
Oh.
And I came out and I was like,
That's right.
and I wasn't reacting to that, and then he asked me about it and whatever, because that's what he does. He's honest. And I'm honest too, but.
Have you seen him since?
Difference. I have seen him once since. He's always super kind to me. Super kind to me. Yeah, but I think, have you seen his show, right?
Yeah.
I think his show is great.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Unreal.
Did you do that show?
No.
No. That's only
I would think you
That's
would
only
have,
for
though.
the, no.
No?
No, we're in a different echelon of people.
These dickheads.
Yeah. Cardi B
Me.
did that
Well,
shit.
I'm trying to give him a compliment.
No, I know. And I was
You're
trying
both
to...
trying to, and you're both denying it.
I feel you, though.
Good for you guys.
We're not in that orbit, but it's fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. Catastrophobia. And I'd heard, and my older kids used to just call it, oh, you had an image. Or you had an image, because I would sit in the car and I'd just be driving and it would just be totally random, man. Nothing's going on, it's all fine. And I would go,
Dude.
like that. And it got super bad.
Yeah.
And my imagination is so acute. Like
Yep.
I'm on perpetual acid.
Yeah, me
like
too.
it's just how it is. I don't know if that was from taking too much acid when I was a kid, but it just kind of stuck.
I never thought of that.
And so I see it. I see it as if it's in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gotten better. I've really worked on it getting better, and I really try to divert it because...
What did you do?
But you see things you're projecting, or they just sort of
Projecting.
unfold?
They unfold. I mean, you're projecting it, but it's unfolding in front of your face of the worst things that can happen to your children. And I think, not to get all psychological about it, but I think it comes from, whether you come from a place that's unsafe and you feel like if I'm going to take care of my kids, you have to foresee it, so therefore it won't happen. Yeah. You have to imagine every worst case scenario so you're prepared if a worst case scenario happens.
Yep.
I think that's the thing. And
that's why you're jacked, because you can defend yourself, because it ain't gonna ever happen again.
Thank you.
Me too.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah. Anyway,
Totally.
that's the
with you guys.
Yeah. I love that we're all jacked.
Totally.
Tony,
Jack
I'm with
Tony
you guys.
is the best.
Tony.
Catastrophobics
Right.
in the house.